Hello team, welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video. Myself, Jonathan M.S. Pearce. This is a breaking news update, late night for me in the UK, pertaining to Donald Trump, who is seeking payment from the Department of Justice, his own government, essentially, to the tune of $230 million. This is absolutely outrageous. Let's just dip into this news segment to give you a flavour of what this is all about.
Hi there, everyone. It's 4 o'clock in New York. We come on the air with breaking news of a potential $230 million shakedown of the American taxpayer by one Donald J. Trump. Brand new reporting in the New York Times reveals that Donald Trump is demanding $230 million from the taxpayers as compensation for investigations into him by the Department of Justice. People familiar with the matter tell the Times this, quote, Trump submitted complaints through an administrative claim process that often is the precursor to lawsuits. The first claim, lodged in late 2023, seeks damages for a number of purported violations of his rights, including the FBI and special counsel investigation into Russian election tampering and possible connections to the 2016 Trump campaign. The second complaint, filed in the summer of 2024, accuses the FBI of violating Trump's privacy by searching Mar-a-Lago, that's his club and residence in Florida, in 2022 for classified documents. The mountain of ethical red flags surrounding Donald Trump now demanding $230 million from the government he leads, with his own attorney general set to sign off on any settlement with him, are so obvious even Trump appears to be capable of grasping it. Here's what he said on this last week.
I have a lawsuit that was doing very well, and when I became president, I said, I'm sort of suing myself. I don't know. How do you settle the lawsuit? I'll say, give me X dollars, right?
Yeah. So now we know X is 230 million buckaroos from us, the taxpayers. New York Times goes on to report it will be paid by taxpayers if his former defense lawyers turned top-tier leaders of the Justice Department sign off on it. If the settlement's approved, we'll be paying Trump for two investigations that remain on solid factual ground, even according to people still in good standing in the MAGAverse. One is a...
Okay, so you heard it there. Referring to this New York Times article, this is not, Trump is not denying this. In fact, he's come out and talked about it here just tonight, actually. He was asked about this. Let's go to Trump.
You're just very good.
Follow up on her question to you, because the New York Times is reporting that your legal team is seeking $230 million from your own Justice Department now in response to the investigations into you.
It could be.
Is that something you want your legal team to do?
I don't know what the numbers are. I don't even talk to them about it. All I know is that they would owe me a lot of money, but I'm not looking for money. I'd give it to charity or something. I would give it to charity, any money. But look, what they did.
So even if that's true, I mean, I doubt he would give it all to charity. He's not known for his charitable giving, in the sense that he did have the Trump Foundation and that was closed down due to fraudulent activity. So, that would be forcing the taxpayer to pay some money to charity. What's the point of doing it? What are you doing here? You've shut down the government, and yet you're not paying civil servants, and yet you are demanding that a ballroom is built to the tune of $200 to $250 million on the side of the White House, knocking down part of the White House. What is going on? And you're demanding $230 million from US taxpayer for the fact that you think you were harassed due to factually based lawsuits against you.
They rigged the election, and as you know, we had
Lies.
In one case, 60 Minutes had to pay us a lot of money. George Slobodanopoulos had to pay us a lot of money, and they already paid.
He's a child, and of course we know that they settled because they wanted not to be continually bullied or set upon or disadvantaged by the White House. That was settled out of court. It didn't go to court precisely because you never would have won in court. But ABC Disney, who owns ABC, settled out of court, as did Paramount, because they wanted to merge with Skydance. And to get that merge, they had to have permission from Brendan Carr, who's in charge of the FCC, who is your lackey. He would never have said yes to that merger if CBS had taken or had that lawsuit gone to court for CBS, and the editing of the documentary, or the editing of the Kamala Harris interview, as is claimed by Donald Trump. That was frivolous. He would have lost it in court, absolutely 100%. But they settled out of court because they wanted to merge. Paramount wanted to merge with Skydance. So this is nothing to do with those companies admitting that you were right, but that's, of course, how you're selling it.
They paid me a lot of money because what they did was wrong.
No.
And, when somebody does what's wrong. Now, with the country, it's interesting because I'm the one that makes the decision, right? And, that decision would have to go across my desk. And it's awfully strange to make a decision where I'm paying myself. In other words, did you ever have one of those cases where...
He's treating this like it's hilarious. This is $230 million of taxpayers' money. It's absolutely disgusting. You're a disgusting man. I'm beyond caring whether any of my viewers get upset with me because I'm attacking Trump. He's an absolute corrupt buffoon, but he's worse than a buffoon because I think he's deeply narcissistic to the point where he is morally bankrupt and can't think anywhere past the end of his nose.
You have to decide how much you're paying yourself in damages, but I was damaged very greatly, and any money that I would get,
You don't seem very damaged, apart from maybe in the head. So, New York Times here has this article. Trump said to demand Justice Department pays him $230 million for past cases. He's demanding that payment in compensation for the federal investigations into him, according to people familiar with the matter, who added that any settlement might ultimately be approved by senior department officials who defended him or those in his orbit. This situation has no parallel in American history, as Mr. Trump, a presidential candidate, was pursued by federal law enforcement and eventually won the election, taking over the very government that must now review his claims. It is also the starkest example yet of potential ethical conflicts created by installing the president's former lawyers atop the Justice Department. Lawyers said the nature of the claims posed undeniable ethics challenges. Quote, "What a travesty," said Bennett L. Gershman, an ethics professor at Pace University. Quote, "The ethical conflict is just so basic and fundamental, you don't need a law professor to explain it." He added, and then to have people in the Justice Department decide whether his claim should be successful or not, and these are the people who serve him deciding whether he wins or loses, is bizarre and almost too outlandish to believe. Even the president, end quote, even the president seemed to acknowledge that point in the Oval Office last week when he alluded vaguely to the situation while standing next to FBI Director Kash Patel, Attorney General Pam Bondi and her deputy Todd Blanche. According to Justice Department regulations, the Deputy Attorney General in his case, Mr. Blanche, is one of the two people eligible to sign off such a settlement. And then it goes to quote that video that you saw earlier. Compensation is typically covered by taxpayers. Two people familiar with the president's legal claims said that he had not been paid by the federal government, but that he expected to be. So on and so forth. I mean, you can go and look into further details in that article. It's just absolutely staggering. Absolutely staggering. David French here, who is no liberal, right? He is a fundamentalist, an evangelical Christian, conservative Republican, although he's no fan of MAGA these days. I debated him on radio actually some years back on Council Culture. He was going to run for president, so I've debated a presidential candidate, but there you go. David French says it's hard to think of an action more purely corrupt than a president ordering the executive branch to pay him hundreds of millions of dollars. I cannot wait to read the MAGA defenses of this, and there will be many. They'll display Soviet levels of sycophancy. Absolutely incredible. And you're thinking, wow, he's taking $230 million from the taxpayer while he's giving a $40 billion taxpayer bailout of Argentina, while he's taking $1 billion to upgrade the $400 million Qatari jet that he was given, and he's also sanctioned $172 million for two Kristi Noem private jets. That's his Department of Homeland Security secretary. $230 million in legal fees to be reimbursed by the DOJ, as mentioned, and then $200 million plus for a fancy White House ballroom that literally nobody asked for. But they won't extend Affordable Care Act subsidies to save the lives and bank accounts of millions of Americans about to see astronomical increases of as much as 400%, mostly in red states. Yeah. Okay, so, he calls Democrats criminals and terrorists. They're the ones fighting for Americans not to have to choose between their mortgage and their healthcare. It's absolutely staggering. Absolutely staggering. But, this is one of many things that is indicating that Trump is engaged in an outright, I don't know what you call it, race to, charge towards autocracy.
Or really, I think it's got to be handled in a proper way. If it's not handled in a proper way, we don't want it to happen again. We can never let what happened in the 2020 election happen again. We just can't let that happen. And so the way we go, I know Cash is working on it, everybody's working on it, and certainly Tulsi's working on it. We can't let that happen again to our country.
What he's saying is that election where it was a free and fair election and he lost the election, we can't let that happen again.
What's happened where you have millions of people being allowed to come into our country, all because of a crooked election, where they come from prisons, they come from jails, they come from mental institutions and insane asylums, they're drug dealers, the people that they've allowed to come in.
He doesn't understand what asylum seekers are, and he thinks they come from mental asylums. Anyway, so he's rigging the election. He's got someone in his orbit to buy Dominion voting machine company. He is gerrymandering all over the place. Here we have North Carolina. We hear today is gerrymandering in order to get extra Republican congressional seats.
Today, North Carolina Republicans are poised to approve a new gerrymandered map that will effectively flip one congressional seat from blue to red. Now, just moments ago, the GOP-controlled state Senate approved this. The GOP-controlled state House will take it up this afternoon. And the Democratic governor does not have the power to block it. Now, this will be the third Republican-dominated state to change its maps under pressure from President Trump, who wants to give his party every possible advantage ahead of the midterm elections next year. We all know it started in Texas, then it went to Missouri, and now what's happening today is again in North Carolina. Red states across the country are clamoring to go next. Now, Democrats are looking to even the score, I should say, in states like California and Maryland, but they are at a decided disadvantage. And this redistricting war could ultimately determine who wins control of the House next year.
He's doing everything he can not to lose the midterm elections, and the Republicans will get an advantage in the redistricting right across the US. If all the states were to engage in this behavior, then because more states are run by Republicans essentially at state level, where that's where the maps are decided, then the Republicans will get an advantage. And you know why they're doing it, because they are telling you this is the North Carolinian lawmaker here talking about why they are doing the redrawing of the maps.
The motivation behind this redraw is simple and singular. Draw a new map that will bring an additional Republican seat to the North Carolina congressional delegation. Republicans hold a razor-thin margin in the United States House of Representatives. And if Democrats flip 4 seats in the upcoming midterm elections, they will take control of the House and torpedo President Trump's agenda. The motivation...
So they're telling you that it's simple and singular. There's only one reason they're redrawing the maps, so that they can't lose the midterm elections. So that essentially the states are rigged in favour of the Republican Party. It's an absolute travesty. Democracy is being eroded every single day in the United States. Meanwhile, Donald Trump and his lackeys are making a ton of money. They just can't stop making money. Meanwhile, the electorate loses money in terms of the big beautiful bill, where the Working class and the middle class is affected disproportionately compared to those with a lot more money, and where the big beautiful bill is looking to harm people on Medicaid, particularly those on low and middle incomes. It's absolutely horrific what is happening, I think, politically in the United States at the moment. And for him to sit there and laugh about paying himself money, just imagine if Obama or Biden was sitting there speaking as he is here, what Fox News would be saying. They would be cacking themselves. Fox News, when Obama was president, went to town on him because he wore a tan suit. Now he's essentially deconstructing. Now the president is deconstructing the edifice of democracy in the United States. And they're not even blinking, Fox News. They don't care. But I tell you what, Obama, you can't wear a tan suit. On the other hand, Donald Trump can do what the hell he likes. It's absolutely staggering.